Hmm. Hey, fraud and audit friends and family. Listen, you want to know the quickest way to get scammer off your back? Start asking them a lot of questions. That's what we're going to talk about today. Asking questions to get the fraudsters away from you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Friday Fraudster podcast. Join them as they discuss sad, funny, and sometimes disturbing fraud stories. Be sure to catch past episodes on your favorite podcasting platform or go to www.fridayfraudster.com.
That I asked, have you ever noticed when somebody's trying to scam you or get you to do something that you don't really want to do, as soon as you start asking them some critical questions, they start backing off. Either that or they start name calling you, trying to shame you into doing whatever it is that they want you to do. Has anybody ever had that experience before? And before I go any forward with this, we're going to bring on Christine to see what she thinks. Christine,
Hey,
what do you what do you think?
asking questions is my favorite thing.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So let me tell you a story about a friend of mine who I think was about to get scammed until I said something. Kind of made him mad initially, but then he settled down. So he had met this girl and he told her, he said, let's go out on a date because he thought that she was, kind of a nice person. So they were going to go out on a date. And so I was like, hey, man, where you all going? And he said the name of some restaurant, fancy restaurant that I had no idea what it was. And I said, oh, that sounds like fun. So it was about 5 days before the date. So I got closer to the date, he said to me, she called me and said she was going to meet me at the restaurant because she did not want a stranger to know where she lived. He was getting a little offended by that. And I was like, well, I've been knowing you a long time and you are kind of strange. I wouldn't want you at my house either. But, I told him, I said, well, that kind of makes sense though. In today's day and age, people are crazy and you never know what someone might do. So he said, okay, so that sounds kind of reasonable. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. What about you guys listening? Doesn't that sound kind of reasonable to not have a stranger coming over to your house? Sound reasonable,
Yeah.
right?
I did that.
Yeah.
Before I met my husband, like if I would go on dates, I would meet them at a public place even if I was getting set up through somebody and the person I knew somebody who knew somebody, like, yeah, no. And I never had anybody say it felt weird to them. Now, did I ask them what their full name was and their birth date and I ran a CCAP on them before I met them? Yes, I did do that as well.
You gotta do your background check, right?
Yeah. Social media stalking. Yeah, I did it.
So then, as it got closer and closer, the day before, or the day of, she called him up and said, listen, I'm really for a date and I really would like to go. However, I'm going to Uber there. And what I'd like for you to do is to send me some money for the Uber. Now, I can pay you back when we get there, or I can pay for the dinner, as long as you just send me some money up front for the Uber. And so he calls me and he says, hey, man, what do you think about that? This is what she said. And I'm like, look, dude, that don't sound right to me. I mean, you need to ask her what's stopping her from paying for her own Uber, because if she's going to pay you money when she gets there, then she has money, so she should have enough for her Uber there. And so he called her up and he asked her about that. Why can't you just pay for your own? And so she started saying stuff to him like, well, if you really wanted to see me, you would send me money for an Uber.
The guilt trip.
What do you think he did? Yeah, the guilt trip. What do you think he did?
There's got to be more to this story, so I'm guessing he sent her money.
Send her money. Okay. I asked the next question. Let's go to the audience. We can catch up on who's here because a lot of people have been saying hi. But then what I want to also do is ask the audience, what do you think happened after he sent her money? What do you think happened after he sent the money? And so Shrimp is saying hey to everyone. Amber is here. Amber, you are a new listener. Either that or you never commented before. You a new listener, let me know. Amber says good afternoon. LinkedIn user says good afternoon. I'm guessing that this is probably Stephanie. Not real sure. She is saying, I'm having a little weird day, but she is saying, do catch those past episodes. They're so.
So Rob, you're coming in and out. You're coming in and out a lot for me. I didn't know if anybody else on the stream is seeing that too. You're glitching.
Probably is happening for other people too because I'm having issues with here.
I'm going on the live right now to see if I can tell. Yeah, on the live, you're glitching in and out too. I wish I knew this story ahead of time so I could finish it for you.
I'm going to my backup internet connection quickly, and then we're going to finish the story. It's always good to have a backup.
So while Rob is switching over his internet, what I got from what he was getting in, his friend met a woman. She wanted to meet at a place. So he didn't know where she lived. A couple of days before the date, she ends up messaging him saying, hey, I need money for an Uber to get to the restaurant. Can you go ahead and send me money? And then I'll give you money when we get back to the restaurant. And from what I got from Rob is he did send the money. But now I'm wanting to know what else happened because she had to have asked for more. While we wait for Rob, does anybody have any guesses to the rest of the story of how it plays out? Because my guess is she probably asked for money to purchase a new outfit to go out. I can interject with a story that I actually helped one of my children's girlfriends. She was trying to buy tickets to a Packer Minnesota game for his birthday. And of course, Facebook Marketplace is a great place to get tickets. So she essentially came up to me and said, hey, I got a great price on these Packer tickets. They're like only $150. They're like 5 lines up from the 50. And I essentially told her, too good to be true. Oh, Mike asked to pay for a babysitter. No, that too, I could see that. And I told her the prices were just too good for those tickets. And she messaged the guy back. He messaged her, said he was a God-fearing person, that he wouldn't rip anybody off. Come to find out, he had many posts in a lot of the Facebook forums selling tickets. So another red flag. Marnie, yes, I am guessing it was weird and awkward encounter for him. I'm kind of wondering what was going on through his friend's mind during the time. I mean, how do you address that? How would you guys address a potential date coming up and asking you for money, whether it's a first or a second time? Oh, I was struggling without you. How can you do that to me? You just lost 90% of your viewership.
You know what? They probably started calling their friends and said, that Robert guy's not there anymore. Please come join.
Yeah. Help Christy out.
But no, look, Carol is saying, I'm guessing he paid her for the Uber and she continued to hound him to pay for other things. Close, Carol.
Look at Mike's comment. Because I'm siding with Mike. I thought it was to purchase a new outfit for the date.
Oh, you know what? I don't even see Mike's comment. Hold on 1 second. Now Marnie is saying you did great, Christine.
Wow. Under promise, over deliver.
Great.
So Mike Hurst said, asked him to pay for a babysitter.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Fortunately for him, it stopped at asking for the Uber, and he cash apped her the Uber money, and then he went to the restaurant that night for the date, and she never showed up. So, you know.
How much was he out?
He
was
wouldn't
he in like
tell me.
California where it was like $50 for an Uber, or was it like Kentucky where it was probably $25?
He wouldn't tell me because he was too some questions. She came back with a bunch of the shaming language, you know. How dare you? A real man would do this and a real man would do that. And so he shamefully sent it and shamefully was out of his money. So he never told me how much money it was.
So I was the complete opposite when I got back into the dating game. I would pay for things to see how that impacted them if they like were upset. So like I'd get there early, I'd get a drink, and then they'd sit down and be like, oh, would you like a drink? They're like, yeah, I guess I can get something. And I'd be like, you can put it on my tab. And if like they looked at me like I was weird and everything else, like I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to go the way I want. Like, you got to be okay with me paying my way sometimes. Completely opposite.
Now that is interesting, huh? Now I saw my man Shafundu showed up today. Good to see you, man. You know, we've got this whole whatever glitch that's going around the nation. So I'm pretty glitchy today, you guys. So you'll have to forgive me for any glitches. I may even drop off and leave poor Christine all alone. But okay. Now, there are scammers everywhere, and we have to protect ourselves. And one of the best ways to protect ourselves is to ask the scammers a lot of questions.
Yep.
So, Christine, let me ask you another question. What would you do if you got a call? You were sitting there and you looked at your cell phone and the caller ID said local police department, and you picked it up and they told you that you owed them some money because you missed a court date and that you needed to pay them some money. What would you do?
I'd probably laugh because I know I didn't miss a court date. Yeah, I would laugh. And in the small town that I live in, my ex-father-in-law used to be a police officer. So I think I'd be able to call him and get in contact and be like, hey, can you check this out for me? Or I would just call the courthouse, I think is what I would do. But as we all know, like we know these things. I've seen and heard these scams. This isn't anything new that's been going on. So I probably would laugh and hang up. And then I probably would call the county that tried calling me. Marty, don't pick up.
Marnie says, don't pick up the phone, right? But because of human nature, we oftentimes pick up the phone because we're just curious as to what's happening. Okay, so you would call the courthouse, or you would not answer the phone, or you would just laugh at them. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Now, Michael is saying he would know that it's a bogus call. He's never been in trouble with the law to get a call from them anyway.
Right. Like, I'm sure you would remember getting arrested or getting a citation that would require you to make a court appearance. I would hope.
I just forgot that I got arrested the other day.
Well, here's what it would have to be an arrest, because even if it was like a speeding ticket or something and you didn't pay your ticket, you would get something in the mail that said you didn't come to your court date because it was optional. This is how much you still owe us. So I don't even think if it was for like a minor traffic violation where you had that court date optional. But like I said, if you don't get tickets and stuff, I mean, would you know? I mean, I think a lot of this has to do with experience. Like, some people sit here and think, oh my gosh, what did I miss? What's the easy resolution to it?
Okay, so now let's assume that you didn't ask those questions, you didn't laugh at them, or you didn't call back. And then they told you in order to pay them back, you needed to go and deposit some money into an ATM machine that was a crypto ATM machine. What would you do then?
I would hang up. I would laugh and then I would hang up, is what I would do.
You mean the county doesn't accept cryptocurrency?
Not ours. I mean, sorry, I'm laughing. My son just made brownies. Sometimes summer and working from home works out. Yeah. I hate to admit it, being in the financial industry, I've seen it and I've heard it. And crypto deposits into ATMs are a huge thing. I didn't realize how accessible cryptocurrency ATMs were available in a lot of our small towns even. I'm like, oh, it's a Chicago problem. No. Now when I go into a lot of gas stations, it's there. And I guess it just blows my mind.
Yeah, crypto is definitely here to stay. And Michael says, I don't do crypto. And Marnie says, it's got to be a Russian scam alert, right? And then LinkedIn user, I think this is Stephanie, said, my daughter got a call that she missed appearing for jury duty and almost paid $750. Whoa. And then she stopped and drove straight to the police station to verify.
And I guess that's an example. Like, I wouldn't know what ramifications, what the next steps would be if I missed a jury duty call. Like, would they send you a letter? Would they come and arrest? Like, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But this is where you're getting at, is I would ask questions. Like, you missed a court date. What did I miss a court date for? What was I being charged with? When was I initially served, or when did this occur? I guess those are all the questions that I would be asking. Who was the arresting officer? Who was the citation officer? But even then, scammers are getting really good. We've seen a couple come through. You can find out police officers' names online.
Oh, that's right. You can.
Yeah. So we've seen where letters have been submitted. Like, people have gotten letters with actual subpoenas and making it look all official and everything else. And we're just glad when they come in and say, hey, I don't know what this is. Can you help us? And then we help them out. We help our members out.
Now, a few weeks ago, you all suggested that I watch Beekeeper.
I didn't watch it. Was it good?
Oh, it was good. Specifically, the opening scene. I think it was Stephanie and maybe Mike that suggested that. But go and watch the opening scene. I won't spoil it, but it shows you how scammers work and how quickly they can take your money from you.
I'm going to have to write that down, because now I have to watch it along with my fraud department.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have established that if Christine and many of you, if you get a call that looks like it's coming from the police station, the caller ID says it's the police, you'd either try and call the police back independently verify, or you just hang up the phone and laugh in their face, or you wouldn't answer the phone at all. Now, if you get past that, many of you said that, okay, if they tell me to go and deposit money into a crypto ATM to pay them back, I'm really going to start laughing in their face now. So we're auditors and fraud investigators here. So I guess we're probably pretty skeptical to begin with. Unfortunately, the subject for today's story, she wasn't that skeptical,
Mm-mm.
unfortunately. So in Bradenton, Florida, a woman lost nearly $24,000 in an elderly fraud scam this caller ID said it was from the sheriff's office. Obviously, they were spoofing the phone number, right? The person said that they were a deputy and that she needed to send money because she had missed court. They told her that she needed to deposit the money into ATMs that were in Winn-Dixie stores. And she ended up depositing $23,600 into these ATMs.
Yeah. Here, like, you would, I mean, I guess it's whoever, whatever company owns those. But can you imagine walking in with $24,000 to manually sit there and plug and chug it into an ATM?
No. You know, so here's what I was wondering. Because of the amount of money from an ATM directly from your debit card, do you have to deposit cash or can you do a transfer directly from your card? Because that's what I was thinking. That's a lot of money.
No, because, well, you could try, but I don't think you'd be able to get away with the 24,000 because your debit cards have daily limits. So it has a per transaction and a daily limit assessed to it. So that would all depend on your organization. I mean, the only other way that I could see that being able to go through is if she contacted her bank and asked for an increase. But if she was asking for a $24,000 limit, they're going to start asking why. They'd be like, okay, what are you purchasing? That sort of thing. Yeah. And the thing is like, there's no consumer regulations that prevents this. So let's say if you had like an online account takeover, right? And somebody was able to transfer money out of your online banking, right? Well, that's covered under Regulation E. So then the financial institution would be liable for it. And then at that amount, hopefully they would have insurance coverage to get that back minus their deductible, whatever it is. But if she went to that financial institution, took the cash out, and then went to that cryptocurrency, she's out that money.
Yeah. So what the stories are saying is that the scammers actually walked her through how to do whatever it is that she did. So I'm speculating that either she just said, but it said she used two different Winn-Dixie locations, but it never said how many times she went. So it could have been a few transactions over a period of time. But here's our other tip for people, though. If people have to tell you explicit directions on how to get the money to them, and it's very complicated, it's probably a scam. Like outside of here's the address you mail it to, or here's the bank account and routing number, if they have to tell you explicit instructions, withdraw money from here, make it payable to this person, do this, do that, it's probably a scam.
But you will be amazed at how often that happens. Like how often. So I know like a lot of times people are like, the bank should be like watching out for this and everything else. These scammers instruct people exactly what to say when they're asked questions from financial institutions. So, I mean, yeah, there is software out there that helps alert, people in back offices. I mean, there's stuff that's out there to help reduce this and stuff. I mean, the only thing that I can see is if she was going to different financial institutions, if somebody would have noticed, okay, why are we the second or the third location that she's coming into to take cash out today?
Right.
And no surprise, everybody, I'm not saying anything nobody knows. She's over the CTR threshold. So that system, their banking system, would have somehow had to alert saying, hey, you're over that $10,000 threshold and taking out cash today. Make sure you complete a CTR. So there had to have been alert somewhere. But of course, we don't know what questions were asked. And maybe the right questions were asked. The scammer just gave really good responses to make sure that it didn't stop at that point of contact.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. The victim was a 67-year-old woman. And you've noticed we've had a theme lately talking about elder fraud. One, because they've been popping up a lot. And two, because I just really want to be able to help, because there are a lot of elderly people who are being scammed as of late.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a 67-year-old woman. She may not have told her family, if she has any, and she was probably getting conversation and comfort from these scammers that if you got old people in your life, call them every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, scammers always seem to be 5 steps ahead.
Yeah, they do. Now, fortunately, Florida started an elder investigations unit, which makes sense, right? Because a lot of elderly people retire in Florida. I think they started it in April of this year. And so they've been investigating this one too. Unfortunately, they've said that people over the age of 60 have already lost $2.3 million to scams.
The 2.3 million in scams. And that was just in Bradenton, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was just in Bradenton. So,
I mean, is that like, I know they're encouraging people not to answer unknown phone calls. Like, is that, oh, I wonder if that's something we could ask cell phone companies. What if there was an option where, unless your contact was in your contacts, your phone wouldn't ring? It would automatically block that call. And
you can do that. You can do that now.
Really? So what if we started doing that for some of our older family members? Like, we don't want this to happen. Like, let's start setting their phones up to do that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
I mean, my grandpa just yells at people he doesn't know. So I'm not worried about him. He would cuss at him if they said cryptocurrency.
Crypto smipto. So unfortunately, the victim in today's story, though, they've already said that it is highly unlikely that she's going to get her money back because it was crypto.
Because I want to say that timeline is tight. Like, I think it's like within 3 hours when it comes to cryptocurrency. Like, there's a tight, Marsha might know more, or Stephanie might know more on what that tight turnaround time is. I know it's not very long to where you could get that back.
Yeah. So I think our lessons here, though, are plentiful. First, don't answer calls from strange numbers. If it's really important, they can leave a message. Even now, I do believe that someone has given one of my numbers to some of the advertisers and the marketers and even some scammers, because I get all types of calls and I don't answer my phone. If it's very important, you should already be in my phone book, and or you can leave me a message. But secondly, start asking questions and trying to figure out, what is it that you want from me? How does this work? How does this operate? If it is entirely too complicated, it might just be a scam. The third thing is, if they ask you to go and deposit money, especially if it's cash, into some sort of ATM machine to pay them back, especially if it's a governmental agency, is probably a fraud.
Kind of just reminds me of that one person who got like a parking ticket and they were just really mad about it. So they brought in a barrel of pennies to pay for it. Like, what if
Yeah.
everybody was just that irritated that they just brought in and paid for it in pennies? I mean, don't, of course, because it's not the clerks, nor the, if you got the ticket, pay for it. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, as technology keeps taking off, I mean, look at how far we came in the last 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know the old scam of calling someone up and saying, "Hey, this is your aunt or uncle or nephew or niece, and I'm in trouble. I need for you to send me some money." That's an old scam. Where that's gonna go next is they're gonna do face swaps where you are doing video calls with someone that you believe to be your relative. So my grandmother, I lost my grandmother, my last grandmother that was left last year.
Mm-hmm.
But she was funny. She would call me. She would say, "Baby, listen, I got a call from some people saying that you were in trouble and that you needed $50,000. And I knew you weren't in any kind of trouble, but I'm just calling just to make sure. Now, are you in any trouble?" "No, ma'am, I'm not in any trouble." "I didn't think so. That's why I hang up on those scammers." That's what she.
I love that. I know you won't get in trouble, but I just had to call to double check.
Right.
Now that's a grandmother that really loves you.
That way. And then my other grandmother, she would do something similar, but she was a little more subdued. She'd call me and she'd say, "Baby, is everything all right?" "Yes, ma'am, everything is okay." "So, was everything okay last week?" "Yeah, everything was okay last week." "Okay, I'll call you later." Then she'll hang up. Then she'll call you back later and she'll say, "When I called you a few weeks ago asking about you, yeah, I got this call from these people saying that they were you. I knew they weren't you." So those scams have been going on for quite some time, but I do believe that now you're going to see the face swaps and also the voice. They're going to clone your voice as well. Marnie says that's frightening, isn't it? Yeah, it's very frightening, but I think that's where it's headed next.
So I'm making my family susceptible by being on your podcast and showing my face and facial features.
Very possible. But you know what? I think we have a control for that though. And I think I said this on some past episodes. I think that all families should have some sort of safe word or safe phrase with one another just in case there is trouble. Like I was watching this one video that was really, really cool. This woman, well, okay, this part is not cool, but what she did was cool. This woman had been kidnapped and somehow she got her hand on her phone and she was pretending to make a phone call, and I guess he made her answer her phone or something. She made it do a fake ring, but somehow she was on the phone, and you could hear the 911 operator say, "911, what's your emergency?" And she said, "Yes, I'd like to order a large pizza," and she said the address. And the 911 operator was pretty astute. She said, "Ma'am, this is 911. So if you're in trouble, just say yes." And the woman said, "Yes, with extra pepperoni, please." And so through the dialogue, she was able to get the help that she needed. I believe that families need some sort of safe word in order to ensure that we are the people we say we are.
We have a safe word, but it's not for that. But I mean, if I didn't communicate it to my kids, we would know. Ours is more of a, if my children are put into a situation that they don't want to be in, they can text the secret word to me and make sure their ringer is on. And then I will call their phone and say, hey, we had a family emergency. I need to come and pick you up. Where are you at?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's literally no questions asked. Let me come pick you up. And we'll talk about it if you want to talk about it. So then it's not that, oh, I got, some kids get put in those weird situations. So I think if something came of it, I mean, I could. We could, like, if it was my kids, like if it was them calling me on the phone saying they needed money, I could sit there and say, what's our secret word?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to be skeptical of things. So I tell you something. So do you remember Olin Mills Studios where you would come in and get your picture taken and almost like glamour shots, right?
Yeah, but not the like 80s version.
Yeah. So way back in the day, I used to work for them, but I used to do the outbound sales calls, right? And you'd have a list of people who just recently had babies. You would have gotten it from the hospital, and you just had this list of people, and you would call them up. And most times you would have people say, wait a minute, how'd you get my number? And then you tell them, they say, well, I don't trust you. You might be a scam. And they're like, okay, you probably shouldn't trust me, but we're Olin Mills. You can call us back. You can look our number up in the phone book and call us back. Because we offered like steep discounts to get pictures of your baby. Because this was before cell phones and all that other good stuff. But I remember back then how hard it was to sell because people didn't trust you and they shouldn't. But I remember, here's what's interesting. I was one of the top salespeople, and I finally figured out why. There were two reasons why. One was because, and one was because I was a dude, and I was calling up, and most of the people answering were women, and they were like, "Oh, yeah." But the second reason was because whenever they said, why should I trust you? I was like, you shouldn't. And then I would give them other ways to verify that we were legit. Because I would say, okay, go to your phone book. You can call us back. My name is Robert. You'll get me at the number that you call back from in the phone book. And so we would have people calling back and saying, okay, I just talked to Robert. And so my supervisor would ring the sale up for me. And, we'd keep a tally. And at the end of the month, I would have like a lot of sales but yeah.
Isn't that just crazy though? Like, technology has just made us so much more susceptible.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you just sat there and said it. If they wanted to verify, they went to the phone book. They didn't go to Google and hope then, the link that they were clicking on was gonna not be a spoofed website.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with that too is you really could kind of trust the phone book because they're printed once a year. I mean, there would be no way that I could have really planned it all out that far in advance. Well, I guess there is a way, but that would have been very difficult. Now, Marsha is saying that safe words are important. Her daughter used it one day at school and had to ask somebody to get her because she was running late from work.
I've heard of a lot of parents doing that. No more phone books.
I know, Marsha. No more phone books. I know, right? Yeah.
But is there? Do they still just have the yellow pages?
They have it online. Like you can go to yellowpages.com, but they really screwed the pooch on that one because they were still trying to charge those. Everything else just beat them out. They didn't lower their prices and try to get, competitive.
Phone books are still made. You can call and order a free print or CD copy.
Look, most of us don't even have CD players on our computers anymore. But you see what I mean? Yellow Pages, they really messed up big time. They.
But I guess I wonder how much. I wonder if they're selling like old phone books on eBay or something. Like it's a thing to have.
Oh, I'm sure there's a buyer for a phone book somewhere. right?
I'm looking it up.
You'd be surprised the things that people would readily buy.
One from 1990, the white and yellow pages is selling for $60. These things were delivered for free. People know that, right? Like, you literally would come home and there would be this heavy, huge book like an encyclopedia that was in a bag hanging off your doorknob.
Yeah. And remember, you had the white pages, which was personal, everybody's phone number, unless you opted out. And then you had the yellow pages, which were the businesses. But can you imagine having out? That's how crazy we were back then.
I mean, imagine having what? You cut out. And I think you're cutting out
A few
again.
years.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, like, I would understand like some of these that are for sale from like 1928, maybe, but I don't know. Does anybody still have a phone book in their house?
Mom still has one.
Hey, if your friends don't move, it's still a useful tool. I mean, I remember when it was all the like craziest because Wisconsin was getting bigger. And like now I tell these stories and my kids look at me like I'm so old. But we used to be the 414 area code. So Milwaukee. Now I live up by Green Bay. Okay. And so many phone numbers were out that they had to split it. So they split us from a 414 to a 920 area code. And my kids are just looking at us like, are you serious? Like, what do you mean your phone number changed? And I looked at them, I said, you have to remember, like, when we used to call, we used to not have to type in the area code when we called each other. Like, you didn't call anybody outside your area code.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it cost you more money.
Oh, now this is funny. Marsha said that her niece recently asked her, what is a stamp and how do you mail a letter?
Wait till your children find out that we never used to have forever stamps and people would get outraged because then you had to go back to the post office and buy 2-cent stamps to add to your stamps that you already. Oh, my kids thought it was the craziest thing when I told them we used to have to pay for text messages.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
They're like, what do you mean you had to pay for text messages? I'm like, you had to pay like 10 cents a text message.
Yep.
Huh? I'm like, 10 cents out, 3 cents in, 10 cents out. And they're just looking at us like crazy. And telling them that you used to never like not take pictures with your cell phone. Like,
they don't know how good they actually had it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I sat here and told me I would love to have a stick shift vehicle again, but now it's more expensive to order those than get a manual. Telegram.
Look, Marsha says Telegram, but look, Marsha, did you know that
Rob is stuck again.
God.
You're stuck again. So you said, Marsha, did you know?
Yeah, that Telegram is actually an app now that's kind of like WhatsApp that the kids do text messaging from, and it's called Telegram. So if you say Telegram nowadays, the kids are going to think you're talking about the messaging app, not the old Telegram where you had to know Morse code and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm guessing it's like WhatsApp because then it doesn't track it, doesn't hold that data. And then does it do like Snapchat that it goes away after a while?
I think you can do that too. And you can put people in groups and all kinds of stuff like that. So I use WhatsApp and Telegram. But
But I'm also guessing you use those because it's easier for you with all your travel. Do you use WhatsApp because of all your travel?
Yeah, that and to talk to people who live in other countries. So I find that I'm now talking to a lot of people in other countries, and so Telegram and WhatsApp is just really, really easy and convenient.
I did not have WhatsApp until our oldest went to Spain because that's how we could communicate while he was over there.
There you go. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It is pretty awesome. I'm actually in a few Telegram groups with WhatsApp groups with a few auditors. I have
Ooh.
one, and a few other people have some WhatsApp groups, and so they're all over the world, and we just kind of talk about audit related things.
God, I love the world of audit. It's like we're one big happy family. You freeze again. Oh.
All right, I am glitching a little bit too much. I don't know. I guess all the infrastructure failures that are happening today in the US, they're really hampering and hurting me. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you if you have any last words, Christine, and then we're going to just let this one go.
May everybody's IT issues be resolved by the end of the day. I'm good. As Rob glitches again. And I hope everybody has a safe and happy weekend. Enjoy the weather. Rob's face. Enjoy your weekends, everybody. I'll see you later, Rob. Oh, there, you're back.
I'm back, but I was trying to end it.
All right. We will see you all later. I will leave the studio.